Hey, future bestsellers, I'm Lisa Daly, best-selling traditionally published author of 8 books. By the end of this video, you will know how to establish your writing routine just like a best-selling author, and I will teach you the easiest way to increase your word count to over 3,000 words a day without writing crap. That's right. Let's get writing. Tip number 1, routine is key for writers. It's king, it's queen. This is among the most important things you can do for your writing career, because when we establish a writing routine, we make it a habit. It's something we do every day and we don't have to think about it. And when you do have to think about it, if you don't have a routine, you are wasting a lot of time trying to figure out where you're going to cram in writing when you could actually be thinking about your book. So it's really important. If you have any type of habit, it sort of becomes an automatic thing. Once you start drinking water every morning or exercising every day, it becomes something that you just do. It's just part of your life and you don't have to think about it. The same thing is true for writing. If you establish a routine, whether that is Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, every single day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, however you do it, set it in stone, make sure that you're doing it. Another thing that's really key as far as your routine is setting a writing place. Now, I personally have 3 different places that I like to write. My first favorite place to write, I have my big place, I have my backup, and I have my backup. And that is Siesta Key Beach. For me, that is the ideal place to write. I have my chair and my beach bag in the car all the time, and for years I would just drop my kids off at school, head over to the beach, write for a couple of hours, and then go pick them up at the end of the day. Now my daughter's school schedule is a little different, so that becomes more of a challenge. I have to write at the beach more on the weekends, but my backup place is actually my lanai, where I have a spectacular view of the water, no toes in the sand, but I have a great view of the water, great view of the pool, ceiling fan, plug, and obviously it's right outside my house, so that's nice. My third backup, my backup, is right here in my office at home, and I have a great little spot here, obviously over there, and that's where I write. So I have a backup plan and a backup plan, just to make sure that I get my writing done every day, so that I can keep making progress on my books. Tip number 2, if your office is portable, make sure that your bag is packed the night before, that you have everything you need, from your laptop cord to your laptop to, special hat if you're like me, and that you're all ready to go first thing in the morning. The last thing you want to do is waste time getting ready, or give yourself an excuse not to write, because if you are delayed by an hour, you could be delayed by 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. You want to have your butt in the chair, fingers on the keyboard, as quickly as possible, first thing, during your writing time. So don't give yourself any excuse. Make sure that you're ready to roll the night before. Tip number 3, set your writing goals in cement. You are not done until you hit your goal. Now, your goal can be a paragraph, it can be a page, 500 words, 200, 2,000, 3,000. My goal is generally about 2,000 words a day at the beginning of a book, and then I average about 3,000 words a day once I get going. If you are not able to set a word count goal, so if you have young kids or a day job, you can actually set a time goal instead. So if you, instead of saying, I've got to get 1,000 words out, you can say, okay, I'm going to write from 5 until 7 every single night, and you sit there, butt in chair, fingers on keyboard, no distractions, until your time is up. So you have to dedicate your time. It's easier for me to do a word count, and I know a lot of authors work that way, especially full-time authors, because you're working towards your book deadline, for one thing. And also it feels like, oh, if I get my word count done, either I can go way over, which makes you feel really good, or you can just take off for the rest of the day. If you get your word count done by, 11:30 in the morning, then, maybe you want to keep going if you're really on a roll and you feel great about it. But maybe you just want to take the afternoon off, and that's okay too, because you feel good, you've gotten your word count done, all good, all good. Sometimes it takes all day and part of the night to get a word count. Certainly I have had plenty of days where I'm done in a couple of hours, but I've also had days where it's taken me all day and part of the night. At the beginning of a book, I tend to set my word count for about 2,000 words a day, just because I'm building the world, I'm creating the characters. But by the end of the novel, I am generally averaging between 3,500 and 4,000 words a day. I find that once you hit about 85% of your word count, you basically sail right through to the end. So you'll find, even though I would never set a 4,000 word count for the beginning of the book, unless I waited until like a week before my deadline, I would never set that for the very beginning of the book. But by the end, you'll be shocked, especially about the last week when you're excited, you've got all this momentum going. A lot of times you find yourself, without even trying, just writing that, 3,500 words a day. So you might be wondering, how do I do that? How do I write 3,000 words a day on average? Well, I'm going to tell you, because I'm pretty sure that is why you are watching this video. So here we go. Tip number 4. This is the holy grail of how to increase your word count. And that is, keep a word count spreadsheet. Now this is the secret. This is like the holy grail. This is the secret to writing 3,000 words a day. Your writing is your business, and the best way for you to increase your word count is to find out exactly where it is that you are most productive and replicate that. So if you figure out that you write really well in the morning at the coffee shop, do more of that and less of, writing in your car or some other place where you're not as productive. I tend to write about 1,200 words per hour at the beach versus like 600 words an hour in my office. And earlier in my career, I used to treat myself to writing at the beach. It's like I'd have a good week of writing, and so the last day of the week I would go write out at the beach. But after I kept a spreadsheet for a couple of months and realized where, when I was writing at the beach, I would write 1,200 words an hour, which is phenomenal. I thought, why am I writing in my office every day if I'm less productive here? So now I will write for a couple of hours at the beach. I come home in the afternoon feeling all relaxed and happy, and I knock my word count out in a couple of hours. My number 2 spot, my backup place, is my lanai. I write somewhere between 900 and 1,100 words an hour there. The good news is if it's going to rain later in the afternoon, or if I have a little less time, or I'm not sure about the weather, that's a great place to write, because I can still be outside, I can still enjoy the water. So that's really helpful. And the reason I know this, the reason I know how fast I write at the beach versus how fast I write at Barnes & Noble versus how fast I write in my office, is that I tracked my writing, and I tracked it everywhere. I tracked it in hotel rooms, bookstores, coffee shops, which is kind of funny because I do not drink coffee. When my kids were younger, I sometimes wrote in the car when I was waiting to pick them up from crew or guitar lessons. And the great thing about keeping this spreadsheet and doing more of what works and less of what doesn't work is that increasing your writing speed this way does not negatively impact the quality. There are just some times and places when we are actually, completely in the zone and the words just flow. And for most people, if you keep a spreadsheet, you find out that there's a pattern to that. And when you have that time where it just, pours out of you like some, wordsmithing miracle. When that happens, those are the words, that's the writing. Those are the words that you don't need to edit as much. That's the best writing you're going to write all week. And so if you find out, and you can, if you can find out where you do more of that and add more of that into your writing schedule, your word count per day, per week, per month is going to go up, and it's going to go up pretty dramatically. So I essentially doubled my word count every day just by writing in a place I like to write anyway. So now I have like an excuse to go to the beach every day because that's where I'm most productive, and it's awesome. Awesome. So the purpose of keeping the spreadsheet is figuring out how, where, when you write best. So let me show you my spreadsheet. All right, so when you're doing your spreadsheet, you want to make sure that you include where you are, your start time, your word count per session, any sort of notes that you might want to take, like what you were listening to, if you were listening to music. You want to include things like how you felt that day. Like I'll write down if I had a headache or something, or if I was feeling really good, like if I got a great call from my agent, or, my kid said something really sweet to me. Whatever you think may have impacted your writing, go ahead and include it on a spreadsheet, because the patterns, once you look at it for a few weeks or months, the pattern will start to emerge. And the key to increasing your word count without sacrificing quality is to do more writing in the places where you're writing well at the time when you're writing well, and less of the time, spend less time writing in the place where you don't write well or where your output is really crappy. That's it. Ta-da! I know, that's the big secret. All right, ready? Tip number 5, comfy chair. This should be pretty self-explanatory. You spend a lot of time as a writer sitting down, and so you want to make sure that you do not let yourself get up. And if your back hurts, or your shoulders hurt, or your arms hurt, I'm doing a lot of this in the video. I don't actually type like that. I type like this. I'm kidding. If your back hurts, you are not going to be able to write for as long or as well, and so you want to make sure that you have a nice comfy chair. Okay, so tip number 6 is that you want to maintain a regular, uninterrupted writing schedule. Now, the common wisdom is that you should write every single day, but let's be honest, some of us cannot do that, and some of us don't want to do that. There is real benefit to giving your brain a break to kind of percolate on some ideas. So certainly I have written 7 days a week, but in general, I don't do that. I like to have 1 or 2 days off where I'm not writing. The reason that you do need to set a schedule, though, is because that creates a habit, and that is one of the things that's really important for writers. If you can get up and write every single day at the same time and do that sort of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday schedule, fantastic. If you can only do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Saturday and Sunday, that's okay too. But you need to have like a nice chunk of uninterrupted writing time. And the reason for that is that when you get into that writing zone, and it takes like 20-25 minutes to sort of get into that, if you are interrupted, it can actually cost you about 25 to 45 minutes to reset. So if possible, it really is best to write at the same time every day. Make that habit. But since that's not realistic for everyone, at least have some sort of regular set schedule. So tip number 7 is teach your kids the finger. I don't mean this finger. No, not that finger. No, not that. They probably already learned that at school in the 3rd grade. Teach your kids the finger. And by that, I mean that when your kids or your spouse come into your writing space as you are working, you do this. which basically, and you don't look up, you just give them the finger. And that basically means for them that you're writing, you acknowledge that you see them, and you will come get them as soon as you come to a good stopping spot. Now, I stole this, confession, I stole this from the Montessori school. What happens is they teach the kids that if they need to get the teacher's attention, that they should tap the teacher on the shoulder, put their hand on the shoulder just like that, so that the teacher knows that they need their attention, but that they're not interrupting. And if you teach your kids and your spouse and your dog that the finger means you have seen them, you acknowledge them, and you will come get them as soon as you come to a good stopping point, that will train them, A, to respect your writing time, but B, it prevents you from having to stop, answer a question that you could have answered 2 hours from now, and, losing a good 45 minutes of your writing day. If you have 3 interruptions cost you like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And, a lot of us don't have that much time to write. We certainly don't have time to try and get back on track. So writing time is sacred. Teach your kids the finger. And this is something that I have shared with lots and lots of mommy writers. And I will say it works. My kids learned it immediately. And the funny thing is, if I go into their rooms and they're working on something important and they need, a couple of minutes to complete their thought process, they will also use the finger on me. That's what happens. Tip number 8, turn off your phone when you are in the writing zone. This is pretty self-explanatory, but getting those little ding, ding, dings from Twitter or Facebook or my own personal kryptonite, Instagram, can really distract you. And a little ding from Twitter is the same 45-minute loss of your writing time that having somebody come in and interrupt you is. So turn off your phone. Obviously, the exception would be if you're going to be online, on YouTube Live or Facebook Live doing a writing sprint, which, stay tuned, we'll be doing that. It's best to keep your phone turned off. Your dentist can wait for 2 hours until you've finished your word count. Tip number 9, join the 5 a.m. Writers Club. This can really be a great way if you are a parent or if you have a day job. Doing 5 a.m. Writers Club, which just means you get up at 5 and work until like 7 or until your normal day would start, and use the first part of your day and the best part of your brain on your own creative work. And, don't let anybody tell you that you should not spend time on your writing. Even if you're not a published author yet. That's how dreamers become published authors, is spending the time doing the work, writing the book. So, that time is valuable. It belongs to you, and you deserve it. You're a creative. You need your time to create. There's a great community online on Twitter called 5 a.m. Writers Club. You can find the hashtag at 5 a.m. every morning, very active. And it's a really great community. Still no phone while you're writing, but if you want to check in and say hi to everybody before you get started, it's nice to know that you are not the only person up at the crack of dawn. Why is it morning? Tip number 10, plot, edit, and research your book during your non-writing time. Writing time is for writing, plot, edit, and research during your non-writing time. And the reason for that is that most writers are inherently curious, right? And so we can just get off on, we start looking up like an alternate word for condiment or condom if you write romance, and you end up getting like sucked into the internet for a couple of hours. So don't do that. All right, tip number 11, write to music or ambient sounds. This is something that a lot of different authors do, and it can be really effective as far as helping you get right back into the scene the next day. I tend to write to ocean sounds if I'm not actually at the beach. I don't really write to any music if I am at the beach, but it can also help if you are writing a particularly emotional scene and you you really need to like get back into the emotion of the scene very quickly. I tend to listen to the same song on repeat over and over and over again. And what that does is that the next day when you hit the play on that song, it like instantly takes you right back into the scene. Finally, tip number 12, next day tips. If you are a writer that freaks out at the sight of a blank page or a new chapter, one thing that a lot of authors will do is that we will either write a few lines for the next chapter before we end for the day, or some dialogue or even some notes. That way you don't have to start fresh on a blank page, which can be very helpful. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching. Please hit like, subscribe, and ding that little bell so that you will be notified anytime I post new writing videos. I want to hear what you want to talk about, so be sure to leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought. Ask me a question if you have one, and I can cover it in a future video, or just tell me what you wish I would talk about. If you have any questions, I am here for you. All right, so I'm going to be posting new videos every Monday and Wednesday. I'm actually going to try to post on Fridays, but we'll see how that goes. I don't know how long this whole internet thing is going to take.